So I think we'll be starting. This section will be about technology. So we will start with Tobias, who is from SAP. He will introduce himself because he can do it better. And we will start with a trendy topic, exciting topic, and I think very many people have different ideas of what it actually is, design thinking. So I think we have lots of seats in front, and as like for someone who is presenting, it's not really cool to look at the empty chairs. So if I can ask you to move a bit here, would be great. Okay.
I will ask questions to those in the back. Okay, so find a seat and let's start. Okay, welcome, a little bit belated, a little bit late, but nevertheless, welcome to this session here. I want to talk about design thinking and how design thinking can help startups, especially to make things better, to minimize risk of failing and things like that. So, but before I do that, like Tanya said, I just want to introduce myself. So my name is Tobias. I do a couple of things. But basically, I work for SAP, a German business software provider with millions of customers, billions of revenue, and there I'm responsible for design thinking. Beside that, I'm doing other things like beside SAP, I work together with some colleagues and friends. We teach others how to apply design thinking in their businesses. Like, it doesn't matter if it's small, mid-sized, big, or if it's like corporate or government, so everything. Good. Let's start. So let's start with a little bit negativity, because then it's easier for me to have some positive at the end. Why do startups fail? I mean, that's probably, I hope you will not look at me with big eyes, right? Because that should not be the topic here at the Venture Day, why we all fail. But to see where design thinking can help us, it makes sense to have a look at why startups potentially fail. So let's have let's say a look at the 5 basic points. So some of them have, well, actually, by the way, 9 out of 10 startups fail, right? And those are some reasons. They have their costs not under control. They get outcompeted by competition. They do not have the right team together that is working on things. 4th, they run out of cash. Those are, they were too optimistic when they did their business plan. And last but not least, and that's what I want to focus on, is there's no market need for what the startups or what the companies are doing. So that means they make products actually that nobody wants, and that's about 44%, nearly half of why startups fail. And so now the question is, if you look at this, they make products nobody wants, and the thing is, if you start a company and you have an idea, then you start being very optimistic about your idea, and you introduce it, and you start building it, and you hope at the end somebody would like to have it. You hope that you wake the desire that somebody wants to have your solution or your idea or your product, whatever it is, your service. The thing is that, and there were some good ideas about this, or some good examples about that. For example, when around 92, when people were not looking at personal computers anymore, but when the first mobile phones were introduced, And people thought, okay, that's a great idea. Because before that, they didn't have the desire so much to have a mobile phone. When it was introduced, they started having the desire. And that's something all people have in their mind. And we have this great example. There's a mirror, I can see what I'm and we all look at Apple and think, and think about what Steve Jobs said, that people a lot of times don't know what they want or what they need until you introduce it to them. So many startups think that way, but it doesn't work all the time like that. That's one idea out of a million where it works. Maybe it's just a number I'm making up, but yeah, that is a lot of startups that just think, okay, we have a great idea, and there must be some people that want it. So, do you know that? I mean, does it remind you? Now, leading to design thinking a little bit. First, the question is a little bit where success and innovation happens. I think most of you know those three circles, right? No? Okay. Okay, it's good, so I can explain it. So, basically, successful products or innovation happens where three things come together. The first thing is where the technical feasibility happens. So it must be possible to develop or to create a product, right? If you have a product that needs no gravity and you want to use it on Earth, it's probably not working right now because there's no technology that can skip gravity. You need, it must be viable. That means there must be a business behind it. And remember the first four reasons for failing that I showed you? They were pretty much all focusing on business viability. So the business plan was too optimistic. It was wrong. The risks were not recognized or considered, and so on. But that's something I think with better risk management and with a better business model development that each company, each startup can tackle. That's okay. But then the last thing is the human desirability, and that's what we were talking about just before. If nobody wants it, if it doesn't fulfill a need or a desire, then your business plan can be great, but it will be wrong from the beginning on because there will be no customers. The feasibility can be awesome, but if nobody wants it, then you have a problem, right? And we say innovation and successful products, they happen where all those three parameters meet. So now let's have a look. Remember, those were the four reasons for failure that I just mentioned before. And the fifth one was they make products nobody wants. So, and that's where design thinking is coming into the game. So, what is design thinking? That's who knows what design thinking is? You know?
Well, it's looking at the brand or company from a customer point of view, first of all, and then applying this to whatever they develop.
Yeah, okay. Customer and look at customers is already very good, yeah. What else? Yeah. Any other idea? Yeah, sorry.
So for example, if you have some solution already exists, so you create a new business model using the same devices, services that already exist. And for example, web information in one place like Google. There was already market and they create something new, just more optimized.
One more.
Something about stickers and labels.
We use whiteboards usually, but yes. don't take all my next things that I want to say. A what?
Course on Coursera recently on design thinking, so I want to show that I learned something.
Okay, but that's cool. Obviously you did. So, design thinking is actually a method. This is a little bit from Wikipedia also. It's not actually a method. It's like, let's say, it's a way. It's a way for solving complex problems and creating innovative, cool ideas. But the most important part is by practicing empathy and focus on human beings. So that means we really want to look behind the needs and desires that people have. So not only what people want, but what they actually need. Usually, if we have a great idea, we develop a chair. Good. But what people need is something to sit on. And that can be something totally different. It has to do with the environment they live in, with their culture, with if they're inside or outside or whatever. But usually customers tell us, we want a chair. But they need something different, right? So, design thinking is a method to solve complex problems and provide users, people, human beings with innovative solutions. What do we need for design thinking? We need, and that was also one of the points that we were focused that I mentioned why startups fail. We need the right people together. If you have a great idea, but you only have people from one expertise, from one industry, or from one way of thinking, your idea will probably not be so innovative and not and will not solve the problem, because you need people with different points of views that work on your problem. The second thing is, let's have some, maybe not, in the middle. The second thing is, if you want to do design thinking, if you want to be creative, then the creative space helps a lot. So doing design thinking here in this room, no, I would not do that, because it doesn't encourage you to be wild and crazy and come up with great ideas, right? So nothing would happen there. So you need a space where nobody is disturbing you, where you can leave your dirt and your crap, and where you can do everything you want. And that's something we need. But the most important thing is we need the process itself. So design thinking is like a few steps, and the funny thing is, all of those steps you already know. It's nothing new, it's no rocket science, it's nothing that you have never heard about before. It's really about small things that you already know, but do them consequently and do them in a certain order, right? So if we have a look at that, and now let's just explain a little bit how design thinking works and how that helps startups to be more on the safe side, that their products are really, or let's say the potential for being successful is higher. We have 6 steps in design thinking: understand, observe, synthesize, ideate, prototype, and test. And you will find 10 different of those things if you Google design thinking, but that's the one I like the most. And different wordings, the different steps, but at the end it's all the same. And let's have a look at those steps. The first one, understand, it's already, this I will not focus on, because that's when you do your business plan, when you do a business model development, maybe using some tools like a business model canvas, the pre-work that you do to understand what it's about, where you want to focus on, who are your potential users and those things. So I will not focus on that. Once you did this and once you understood what is needed, then we go in this very important, and that's probably the most important part that most of the startups do not do, and that's the observe part. That's where you go to actual potential users, observe them in their environment, at their home, in their office, at their place where they work, and try to find out how they behave, what they do, and so on. Why this is being skipped very often?
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's scary.
Scary? Why is scary?
Well, you're always afraid, like, to go to talk to people. It's easier to imagine something in your mind and just think that it's the right decision.
Yeah, there's another reason why it's scary.
You should say to your manager where you're going. Not the bar. And sometimes you should go to the bar.
If it's necessary, yeah, and it must be necessary very often, right? Especially in a startup. No, but why else is it scary?
You know the language of your market. You don't know the language of your market, for example, German, for example, and you cannot explain or ask properly.
Okay, but you can ask people to help you.
But still not you.
Okay.
The main reason maybe is because you think that you already know.
Yeah. That's one point, you think you already know. And the second point is, if I go there and they tell me it's crap and I don't need it, then my whole idea is gone. And I don't want to hear that. So I rather believe that my idea is good and not test it and have a high risk to fail than going out and really experience how people think, but probably get the information, nobody needs it. Or probably not as the way I was thinking about it. So this is the most important part of design thinking. And everything else is side stuff. Well, not only side stuff, but this is the part where we invest the most time in. So defining the right problem, or finding the right problem, finding the needs of people should at least take 70% of our time and of our capacity. Solutions, it's easy. If we understand the problem right, then the solution is very, very easy to provide. So once we did this understand, then the next step is the synthesis, where we must also share our experience, because when we do this market research or this user research, we're usually not going there with 5 or 10 people and scare the hell out of the customers or users. We go there maybe with 2 people. Then we must share our information with the rest of the team. We must understand what the needs and insights are, not just blah blah information, but really put them down in needs and insights. Also important, create personas so that we know who will we provide the idea for. Who is our persona that we provide the idea for? If we know it's a person in middle age with no school education, we cannot provide a complex solution, right? With all honesty, it wouldn't work. So we must know who the persona is and how this persona reacts, how he or she lives, and the character of this persona. And then we finalize the whole thing with our actual problem statement in design thinking. So that's where we try to finalize what is the problem that this persona has. And then we start with solutions, not before. And that's very difficult, because when we already have an idea in our mind and we go to the interviews and research, what happens quite often is, I have an idea, you like it, huh? And then people say, look, they have nice people, come, let's say yeah. So as I said, then we have, I go through those a little bit quicker, because as I said, the solution space here is not the big problem in design thinking. Understanding the problem is the problem. So in ideation, once we have this problem statement, we start generating ideas. We compare them, of course, with our original idea, because when we start a startup, we already have an idea. And we use also constraints to play with what happens if this happens, what happens if we only get half of the money we need, what happens if we, also the other way around, what happens if instead of 100,000 customers we will have 2 million customers, can we do this? All those constraints we can play with in our ideation phase. Second, last one is, and that's also, it goes in the same direction of the observe phase. We build a prototype of our idea, and I mean a really simple prototype, not like programming prototype, not like building a prototype and spending a lot of €1,000 or dollars in it, but really something that we can introduce to the potential users, probably to the same ones we just interviewed before, and let them deal with it, let them play with it, but really, like, use paper, use cardboard, use Play-Doh, use whatever it is, but cheap stuff. Because the first feedbacks that you will get for your first prototypes, it will be horrible. Yeah, you will throw it away, most likely. But it's good, because then you know what you did wrong and what you can improve. And last but not least, that's what I just said, get the feedback. And there I come back again to the first point, developing things that nobody needs. When you try to test your prototypes, or you test your idea, let's say, I know it's your baby, and your baby is precious and valuable, and you don't want that somebody saying something bad about your baby. But you should be open for that, because most likely your first idea will not solve an actual problem, or not the way you thought about it. You must iterate this. The whole thing that we saw, it's an iteration. And that's why it's so important, if you test things, don't try to sell it. Just really try to ask, listen, where maybe you get new ideas from the feedback, or maybe there are open questions that you couldn't even answer, which also means that, that there is something wrong with your solution. And so, coming back to this, use design thinking to create products that people really need and really like. If I would be an investor, I would definitely ask for that, because this reduces the chance of failure, for sure. Even if it's only 5% or 10%. It reduces the chance of failure, and well, 10% can already be a lot. Right? It's from 90% up to 80%, so to say. Yeah. So you understand the idea behind it? Yeah.
Like now you have, like you see a lot of different new frameworks start to appear that you can apply. So and then it's frustrating because you have too many things going on. Startups, everyone is more used to in startup approach, and how do see complement each other? Like which tools do you use? Because startups usually startups, small companies, stuff, and now you have design thinking. It's a bit about the same stuff, but it's different frameworks.
Well, design thinking is different than a business model canvas, right? A business model canvas you use before, and then you iterate it also. With design thinking, of course, startups come with an idea they already have. So that doesn't mean, and as I said, the whole thing is not necessarily a row. You can imagine it as a circle, and it doesn't matter where you start with design thinking, right? So if you have your idea already, put it in a prototype and start at the end. Go and test your prototype and be open for the feedback, but use let's say, the design thinking way of asking questions, and not the I ask questions to get the answer that I want to hear way. Right? And I think that makes sense to understand if I'm on the right way, and if my idea will potentially be successful.
But could you please move to the previous slide?
Before?
One more. One more, please. Yes, because it's not to sell. Because as I know, sell is like the KPI of your success. If you do not sell it, so how do you measure the success?
Oh, it's a misunderstanding. This is the prototype that you should not sell. I mean, it depends also on who we talk about, right? If you want to sell your idea to somebody, you want to ask for capital, then it's a different story. But in this case, it means you build your prototype and you test it with potential users, and in this case, don't try to sell your prototype.
Okay, so question. People for free tell it that, okay, it's a good application or good solution, etc., but they don't want to pay, for example. So this is a measure. If they are all to pay for the solution, so this is a really good result.
But if they say, I don't want to pay for it, congratulations, then close your business, because then it's not going to...
For example, it's Instagram. For example, they wanted to use Instagram, but they don't want to pay for Instagram.
They don't want to pay for what?
For Instagram.
Okay, but I think that's a really misunderstanding. Here, I'm really talking about not to sell your prototype where you put all your ideas in. So, yeah, late, quite late. Okay, there are happily just some advertisement. We will provide a design thinking class, a 2-day class in Minsk in the middle of June with my colleague Oliver and my colleague Angelina. And yeah, we will, if you're interested, just go to this way that you can't read, design-thinking.academy. Good, so yeah, but I think you will provide all the presentations anyway at the end, or not? I don't know. Maybe. Okay. Good. But if not, you can also drop me a message on LinkedIn or whatever it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tobias. I think it was a great introduction to start this thinking and seek an alternative way, because like as Oksana was mentioning, we know the business canvas, we know the lean startup. It's an alternative way, again, to develop ideas. And it's going to the core of actually not